right, everybody, we are back with episode 3371 of the show. Last Tuesday, hopefully you tuned in, we went over the top causes of brain fog. If you missed the show, we'll link it up here today. This is episode 3371 at stephencabral.com/3371. So we went over all the top causes. We talked about adrenal issues. We talked about glucose and blood sugar, mitochondria, even thyroid-based issues. So if you want to check out those 6 most common causes of brain fog, and of course, how to overcome them, would love you to check that out. I'll link it up here today. That was last Tuesday's show. But you know, the 7th reason we gave you was actually on toxins. So there are more reasons. So I'm going to break them down here today, but they are their own separate show. So remember, brain fog doesn't just happen up inside of your brain. Your brain is connected to the rest of your body through essentially your nervous system. So it goes brain to brain stem, spinal cord to nerves. Nerves touch the whole body, right? Innervate everything, get their receptors outside and inside, sends those nerve signals up the spinal column back to the brain. So it is not a one-way street. It works both ways. Well, here's the thing. There are specific toxins. I'm going to go over 6 of them here today that are vitally important if you have debilitating brain fog, forgetfulness, clarity, not great clarity of thought, fuzziness, etc. So there's a lot of names that it goes by, but it is almost always triggered by inflammation. That inflammation, though, is affected by these 6 items here today. So let's go over them right now. The first is infections and viruses. So it could be a bacterial infection. It's a little less common than a virus, but right now, we are still finding out all of literally the onslaught of symptoms that COVID has caused our society and our world. It's unbelievable. 15 million plus people alone in the United States have long COVID. That's an enormous amount of people. But remember, long COVID is a made-up name. It's post-viral inflammatory syndrome, and it's always been around. It's literally happened from people with mononucleosis, herpes-based virus, Epstein-Barr virus, HPV, CMV, all sorts of different viruses. And essentially what happens is you get some suppression of a certain immune cells, which is why, again, I'm just saying, allegedly, it may even lead to greater cases of cancer, they're finding. And no matter what, massive inflammation. Well, viruses in general can cause brain fog. And it can do that through, as I just stated, filling up that rain barrel of inflammation. Imbalanced mitochondria from the virus, basically shutting down a lot of the mitochondrial-based function and ATP that's needed for great energy, and also allowing inflammation to continue to fester in the body. Even low-level replication. They found low-level replication of certain viruses like COVID inside of the colon, still happening a year or 2 years later. So these are absolutely things that we should be looking at, boosting our vitamin D. I will be doing a show. Let's see here. It looks like I'm doing it somewhere next week or the week after on how to boost your own natural killer cells and T cells, which is going to be of utmost importance to really eradicate any viral-based particles still left in the body. So definitely keep tuning in at stephencabral.com/podcast for these shows, all unbiased. Since I have no sponsors, I don't, take anybody else's revenue, money, that I can just say essentially whatever I want. Does that get me banned on YouTube sometimes? Yes. Crazy story about that I'll share sometime. But anyway, I'm just going to keep on going. And at least I hope to be able to always publish it on my own website. All right. So the second one is this: specific environmental toxins. I just did a huge teaching module for practitioners on this. So other doctors, integrative health practitioners, etc. And we went over an amazing test called the environmental toxicity test. And it looks at all of these different things from the environment, not just, things such as carbon emissions from cars or phthalates or, the usual ones that you hear. But we're talking about actual chemicals in the environment that can begin to shut down our kidneys, our immune system, our liver, and pass the blood-brain barrier. So these are environmental toxins that aren't being spoken about. And believe it or not, it's at least 10,000 new environmental toxins added in the United States every single year. So I wrote The Rain Barrel Effect. This is somewhere around its 7-year anniversary. Very excited about that. And here's the thing. It is essentially doubled in those 7 years, which is unbelievable. 77,000 man-made chemicals. That's what we could confirm at the writing of The Rain Barrel Effect. Now, I mean, estimates are off the chart. Could be 120,000, could be over 140,000. No one has any idea. That's how many chemicals are now in the environment. And even in Europe, which used to be at the writing of the Rain Barrel Effect about 8,000, it's more than doubled as well. So this is not just a United States thing. This is an entire world thing. And unfortunately, a lot of what we use in the United States ends up moving through the ecosystems of the world as well. So we have to be really careful. Environmental toxins. Of course, a functional medicine detox is highly recommended. A heavy metal detox is highly recommended each and every year. But I'll save that for another show. All right, mold is probably the unsung one. We've talked about this a lot. It is one of those stealth pathogens. It's essentially microscopic. Now, can you see it? Sure. Peel back wallpaper in your house. Look inside of the AC vents in your ceiling or in your bathroom, that vent. Look behind or underneath your sink. You may find the mold. It could be behind sheetrock, but that's why they call it invisible, because the spores, unless you can actually see them, they've grown to be maybe a black mold or something like that. They're imperceptible. They're carried in dust around the house, and we breathe them in. Well, problem is that these are also nephrotoxic, that many types of mold actually begin to break down our kidney function. And it's interesting because when I was looking into the podcast that I did on how 1 in 5 people end up with chronic kidney-based disease, which is a staggering statistic as we get older, and I said, well, you know, maybe it's just type 2 diabetes, because type 2 diabetes absolutely does affect the kidneys. And so that's one part of it. And then I said, okay, well, maybe it's from high blood pressure, because that puts a lot of pressure on the kidneys, especially all the medication and diuretics that people are put on, the pharmaceuticals that shut down their kidneys, which the medical industry never talks to you about. Okay, so that could be one part of it. But there was so much more. There's literally mycotoxins, heavy metals, and others that cause inflammation in the tubules of the kidneys that then make it much more difficult to filter the blood, which then leads to dialysis and a kidney dysfunction, kidney transplant, and much more. So this is not one to overlook. You can run a mold toxicity test to see if you might be affected as well, or you can complete a mold detox. Again, I want you to know that you can work with a licensed naturopathic doctor or a certified doctor of naturopathy, however you want to work. Make sure they're qualified, of course, for you to feel comfortable working with them. You can work with an integrative health practitioner level 2, or you can work with my team, which is over at Equalife. Just the short link is stephencabral.com/shop. It just takes you over to Equalife. But just know that all of this is available, and you don't even have to work with my team. I just want to make sure you can get access to these labs or protocols anywhere in the world. That's the ultimate goal. That's what I'll be working the rest of my life towards. All right, the fourth one is this, gut issues. Did a show on this. I will link it up here today at episode 3371. It's on endotoxemia. It's the number one issue. It is the number one health issue that no one's talking about. It is increased intestinal permeability, leaky gut, no doubt about it. But when people say leaky gut, they stop there. Leaky gut is a problem. Your gut is literally permeable, but here's what happens. It is allowing a gram-negative bacteria, basically a bacteria, pathogens, to move through the gut wall, excite the immune system, leading to autoimmune-based issues, but also leading to type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, dementia, and Alzheimer's. It leads to all of the top 5 causes of mortality, including cancer. So this is not something to overlook. If you have gut issues or you suspect gut issues, run the gut bundle of labs, the big 3, or complete the CBO protocol. Like, you have to do one or the other. Test first. I love testing because there's no more guesswork. Okay, here it is. Here's what to do. Here's the action plan. That's why working obviously with a qualified practitioner is helpful, but you can't pretend it's not there. These things add up over time. They literally fill up our rain barrel. So all of a sudden we get this dis-ease diagnosis in our 40s or 50s. It didn't happen overnight. Not at all. It's been there for years, maybe even over a decade. Important to look at that. All right, the next one is heavy metals. I've already alluded to this multiple times, but specifically, and I did a show on this, even the CDC is recognizing these heavy metals: cadmium, mercury, aluminum, arsenic, and I would put lead in there, of course, lead-based homes, etc. But I mean, it's as detrimental as the others. And these are now so pervasive in our environment that I'll have to get you the research on this because I already wrote it, but I don't know if it's the NIH, the World Health Organization, or the FDA that left this statistic. And I could probably find it for you right now, but I don't want to slow the show. They detected in every single person, so 100% of people, some level of mercury. That is outrageous. No mercury should be in our body. Now, is there some mercury from fish and other things? Yes. Well, we don't want it there, right? We want it to, if we get any mercury from fish, to pass right through, methylated right out of our body. But also, it shouldn't be in all the fish. What happens is people think that mercury is natural in fish. Not to that degree. What happens is these power plants, mercury comes out, lands in the ocean, infects the fish, larger fish eat smaller fish, those smaller fish eat smaller fish, and so on. The larger fish, like tuna and swordfish, become massively contaminated with mercury. We eat that mercury. Now, that's not the only way that we get it. It's also in pharmaceuticals, certain injections, etc. So we want to be careful with these heavy metals. Is aluminum and other metals potentially a cause of Alzheimer's dementia? Yeah, one. Not the only one, but one. Causes inflammation in the brain. Then would create a larger amount of plaque, right? So these things, there is a downstream effect. The last one is this. The last toxin I wanted to bring you here today is autoimmune-based issues. Autoimmunity can lead to brain fog. Why? Because an autoimmune issue is probably, if not one of the very top most inflammatory things that could be taking place in your body. But as you know, autoimmune issues always have an underlying root cause. I spoke about this in yesterday's show on the Mindset and Motivation Monday. I had an autoimmune issue. My genetics haven't changed. I didn't have the autoimmune issue when I was a young teenager and below. Had it as an older teenager in early 20s. And then it was gone by the time I hit my late 20s, early 30s. And hasn't come back now that I'm in my late 40s. So when we look at this, is genetics the reason that you get an autoimmune issue? It's the reason that you're predisposed to one, but it's not the reason you get one. And so once you do get it, is there massive amounts of inflammation? Absolutely, 100%. Is the way to get rid of the autoimmune issue to just reduce the inflammation? No, of course not. Because you haven't peeled back the onion. You haven't found out what the underlying root cause is that caused the autoimmune issue in the first place, and no, it wasn't inflammation. Inflammation is an aspect of an imbalanced or hyperactive immune system. Did the immune system all of a sudden dysfunction? Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. There's something that aggravated it and is causing it to be dysfunctional, such as that leaky gut and endotoxemia. Once modern medicine, and they'll get there, begin to understand this, because now they've finally come around to there is such a thing as increased intestinal permeability, leaky gut, right? They come around to that. They've come around to endotoxemia. The next step they will eventually take, probably be another 10 years, will be that pathogens from the gut, bacteria from the gut that move into the bloodstream, land in certain parts of the body, the immune system attacks them, or the immune system becomes dysregulated through molecular mimicry and other ways as well. What I want to share with you is that all of the items I just named, the environmental toxins, the mold and mycotoxins, the viruses and infections, the gut-based issues, the heavy metals, and the autoimmune, all of these are highly inflammatory. All of these then can cause fuzzy thinking, loss of clarity, not being able to recall as well. It's not necessarily dementia, it's brain fog. But the way to overcome brain fog is not one specific nutritional supplement. It's not just B12. It's not just any one vitamin like D3, although it's amazing. That's not it. The goal is to always look for what is the underlying root cause. Is it the gut issues, the mold, the environmental toxins, the viral-based issues, the heavy metals, right? Or gut permeability with pathogens coming out? Look for those. If you can find those, and you can also look at the ones on the previous show, which, by the way, you can look for every single one of these with the Big 5 lab tests. That will enable you to pinpoint exactly what you need to work on. So again, find a great local integrative health doctor or practitioner that can help you, or work with the EqualLife team, but find someone to pinpoint these things before it gets to the disease stage. And if you're at the disease stage, it's okay. You can still reverse it. And again, don't let anybody tell you that you can't. They just don't know how. So go work with someone that does. You deserve it. You honestly, you owe it to yourself, your family. Make the investment in yourself for you. Honestly, like you deserve this to be able to overcome this. So hopefully this was helpful. I don't want to go on a massive rant, which I'm about to do with the medical-based system. We'll save that for another day. But let's take action. Let's move forward in the right direction, and you can overcome all of these. So wishing you all the best. Take care, buddy. If there's anything we can do to help, just let us know. Simply leave a comment on any social media. Leave it at cabralsupportgroup.com. We'll find a way to get it to us for sure, and we'll be able to help. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have an amazing rest of the day. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.